Welcome everybody, Tad Hargrave. I'm here with Lauren Van Mullem, and we are going to be looking over some My Philosophy pages. We just created the My Philosophy page workbook, which we're pretty proud of, and we both have done our own versions, and some clients have done theirs as a part of my point of view marketing semester in the membership. So we just want to go over them to show you um, what they can look like, point out some of the things that we think are noteworthy about them. And so I'm going to start with Lauren's page. And because Lauren was the first, I think you were the first one to use this template out of anybody.
Yes, I wanted to kick the tires.
Yeah, it's a good idea when you come up with an idea, test it yourself. So, of course, Lauren already had a homepage, a services page, the about page, about herself, her bio and portfolio and all this. So this was a new page. And of course, the idea of the My Philosophy page is to give people a sense of how we see the issue, how we approach the problem. And so what I love about this, so my philosophy, right, ethical copywriting can be as simple as giving your ideal clients the information they need to make the best decision for them. So this is something we came up with as a premise, is that you really want to start the my philosophy page with the most provocative idea, that the idea that's the kind of the seed of the whole thing, the most attention grabbing idea. And so I think this does it great. So ethical copywriting can be as simple as giving your ideal clients the information they need to make this decision for them. But simple doesn't mean easy, which is a nice tag. See, this is what you're going to be finding below, and she's going to make a case for it below. So that second part is what Lauren calls locating them. So this is naming the situation they're in so they'd read it and say, oh, that's me. So very similar to the homepage, but we're trying to resituate them, like just remember why you're here. You're here for this issue, right? So you're here uh, um, because you're not on your website, need a relation making a dollar are not mutually exclusive, and you don't believe that the ends justify the means, right? So we get a sense of it's filtering for who is the ideal client, right? You might have hired other copywriters in the past. So this is part of the island A, part of the situation, and received expensive copy that didn't sound like you, but did sound suspiciously like a used car salesman or a drug company commercial. Right. So again, that's relatable content. Anyone who's hired a copywriter may have received this copy and read it. And it's like, oh God, I don't speak like that. That doesn't sound like me. It's so hyped up. Yeah. You might have taken a high profile and high ticket copywriting course from a certain loquacious crustacean. I meet a lot of her graduates, and realized that copy didn't reflect your values or convey your essence. You definitely have been on the receiving end of manipulative mainstream marketing practices. We all have, and decided they didn't feel good. If that's you, you're in the right place. So that's what we're trying to do here, is just say whatever we need to say that our ideal clients would read and say, oh, this is me. I'm in the right place. Right on this page, right? So here we go. Here's the case I'm going to make. Is that ethical copywriting isn't just as effective as mainstream manipulative tactics. It's actually what you, as a service-based business owner, need to build a sustainable, enjoyable business. I could even see this being the headline right on the top. They're
Could
both
be.
really, it's such a killer case to make. It's like, hey, this isn't just as effective. It's better. This is even even more effective. Right. So listen, you've tried writing your copy. It's not your fault that it doesn't end up sounding like you. It's not even your fault. It's a little confusing. Why it is clear and dialed in as you think it probably should be. Like there's no such thing as a degree in solopreneurship. Nobody teaches you this, right? So just some empathy. Hey, it's hard.
Yeah,
Right.
the why it's hard section is one of my favorites to write.
Oh, oh, right. Yeah, affirming that it's always a useful thing in marketing to, it's like this isn't your fault, or not entirely. It's like, yes, you have some culpability, but there are larger forces at play that are showing up in the difficulty of this. Yeah,
And
right.
then
So,
there's the consequences. And I
uh-huh.
usually don't The philosophy workbook actually forced me to do this in ways that I have not done before, but really focusing what are the consequences that I've seen of somebody continuing on the path as it is laid out.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's recognizable, and I think it lands as honest if we're telling the truth. It's like, look, this is where this goes. This is what we've seen. And maybe you're there, maybe you're not. But yeah, if you try to do copy, paint by numbers, copywriting, you do it and then something doesn't feel right. Right? Why is that? You also don't see another way, right? That's part of Island A. But you need the marketing to work. Everybody's promising big things. You just don't know another way. I've seen clients after they followed the shoulds of mainstream marketing for years and they are exhausted, disheartened, burned out, and so frustrated. They're not getting enough clients. They're paying for ads that don't work, having sales calls with people who are not ready to pay their high ticket price. Man, I see that so much. And then the worst part, they blame themselves for not doing it right. So they search for a better sales pitch, they enroll in another high ticket program and learn how to sell high ticket programs, right? Maybe you haven't gone that road. I hope you never do, totally. Uh, but that's where the road leads when you believe that manipulative marketing practices are the only option, right? So this is the prognosis, we call it. It's making a case for if you go down this road that is kind of the dominant one, this is where it almost always ends up. And I like this too. This is a really honest statement. Manipulative marketing tactic practices do get sales in the short term. Great for high volume business models that just need a lot of people to come through once. I remember a colleague of mine said, you can only make a killing once, you know, because then the trust is dead. You've killed it. Yeah. But when you have a service-based business model that relies on referrals, repeat clients, you can't build that kind of trust with an any means to an end attitude. Yeah. There we go. Heart-centered business owners, especially life coaches, healers, therapists, even tarot readers, lawyers, corporate leadership coaches need the kind of copy that is based on care, authenticity, and values. So this is making a case again for the kind of approach. Those are the building blocks of long-term relationships. You know, how do you do that with copywriting? So now this is the gosh, there's so much good stuff here. So this is the what we call the prescription. Here's what you need. Here's what you got to do. There's 5 things, right? Values, transparency, clarity, deep knowledge, and care. These
And that
5.
is all the pre-work, right? That like AI is not going to give this to you as finished copy. You have to know this going in to anything you write.
I
And
would
nobody,
I would add that somewhere up here.
ooh, yes, yes.
Yeah, here's 5 fundamentals or 5 things to have in place that AI is not going to give you and can't give you. I love that. Yeah, it's right. So these fundamentals are the heart of the approach I teach in my copywriting workbooks, workshops, and copy coaching, along with practical writing prompts, real world examples, and an emphasis on this should sound like you, not me. From here, every word you write has the intention to be of service to your reader, and that sets up a completely different dynamic, one that is supportive, not extractive. Yeah. Right. So this is we're getting to the positive prognosis. This is here's what it can be like if you follow this advice, if you do these things. What I like about this is it's not here's the 5 things I bring that you can't find. It's like, look, this is what you need, whether you get it from me or somebody else. You need these 5 things. And if you do it, here's what's likely to happen. Right? Everything gets easier. It feels good to everyone. And then here's the offer at the end. Check out the DIY ethical copy workbooks and workshops. Lauren's got the workbooks for homepage, for the bio page, for the, all the pages you really need as a coach. She's got workbooks on. So you can check out the workshops and workbooks here. Newsletter join up thing, which is great. And also, I just do want to highlight a few things that Lauren does that while we're here, I think you might find interesting. She does Loom reviews, so 20-minute review, $75. She'll look at a page on your website and just give feedback on it, which is so useful because you just can't see it clear anymore. You've read it so many times. and you just need external eyes to look at it to point out the most obvious things. And then also copy coaching. So single sessions or multiple sessions where you can just get together for how long is it, an hour?
Yeah, it's 50 minutes and it's just like a one-to-one call where we knock ideas around. Sometimes we can finish pages of copy depending on how prepared they are.
That's great. Right. And then number three, make the words go away. Okay, so this is where you do the copywriting for them. And then you also, don't you have some copy groups like where people get together and just hang out and
I have my
you,
craft and copy hour, which is a monthly free hangout, and
mm,
I practice my knitting. They ask me copy questions. It's really fun.
okay. That's where's that? I don't see it.
That's on the homepage.
Oh, okay, good.
It's the one of my free offers.
Grand. Okay. Beautiful. So I recommend if you're working on your website, this is going to be one of the first things that people interact with when they, uh, maybe they followed you on Instagram, but they want to dive a bit deeper, or they just come across you, they Google you, they're going to hit your homepage, they're going to start to explore. And it's the confused mind says, no, it's really good that everything is on point. And so if you're struggling with it, Lauren is somebody I highly, highly recommend to go check out. So I will stop sharing there. I guess I'll give you permission to share. And then so Lauren's going to walk you through mine. And and then we're going to look at the number of other examples from other colleagues of ours. So
All right, I'm not going to read yours word for word because I know how long it
no,
is. But
yeah,
when I was looking at this, when you had just sent it to me, there were so many things that stood out that I'm like, oh, that's such a good idea. So, where we begin is this idea of beauty. And it's funny because one of my first thoughts for my tagline for my business years and years ago was a more beautiful way of doing business. So it was interesting to see that idea mirrored back. And that's, I think, the beauty of a philosophy page that works, that resonates, is you're mirroring back what your people are thinking. So we've got the same intro. If you're reading this, like, are we in the right place? It's that location paragraph. You're likely a coach, healer, or other service provider struggling to get enough clients. So we've got who you are and what you're struggling with. Really important fit criteria. Can't figure out why it's so hard or why marketing seems to feel so terrible. Most coaches hardly make any money at all. That's really hitting, hitting the truth for so many. And then why it's hard. And what you do that I think is really cool, and I've seen it in some of the drafts we're going to look at later, is you have these really fun infographics, like you just visualize it on the page. So you've got your core take, and you just come right out with it really quickly. The reason so many people struggle, they don't have the core fundamentals in place deeply enough. So, what are the fundamentals? And then you've got this gorgeous graphic. I need to get better at the graphics. I'm really terrible with Canva. It's like the whole journey. I love this part. Most clients I come across are, because if this were a typical sales page, this would be like kind of a this is for you if, or like you would be talking in second person. But I like how this brings everybody in on the conversation. It's like, here's what I've seen. This probably describes you too if you're in the right place. And we've got the space issue, and that's okay. I'm not even the space is so critical and nobody talks about it. So I love that that's the leading idea. And then we've got ethics, niching, point of view, business model. It's all there. And then we've got this video because you have so much content built up right now. Yeah, let's use it. Use it on that philosophy page. But even if I don't ever click on this, because I'm so bad. I'm not the person that clicks on videos on pages. I get everything I need from everything up here. Okay, so we've got the deeper reasons. So this is the struggle that they're aware of. They're not getting any clients. Um, this is the diagnosis. Here's what's not functioning. It's the basics, it's the fundamentals. And then we get into the problem under the problem, which is one of the things I call why it's hard. So, why is space hard? We're kept busy by an insane global cartel capitalistic system that squeezes us harder and harder every year in a centuries old war on the yin and rest, which convinces us we're only worthy when we're busy and productive. Yeah. I love how you're like coming out of the gate. Like, here's the dominant paradigm. I am taking issue with it. I want everybody to do that on their philosophy pages. Get a little feisty. Do something that makes you slightly uncomfortable because you're taking such a strong stand. You're probably super comfortable with it at this point, but for some of us, we need a little courage. And then we've got ethics. Why are ethics hard? Yes, modern society is based on converting living things into dead things, mountains into pop cans, trees into paper, and people into numbers. It's a society that sees the world as full of resources, not relatives, and understands belonging as possession and not kinship. So, as a like flag waving fan of Robin Wall Kimmerer, I see some of her ideas reflected in this, and I'm just like, yes, niching. So many of my clients struggle with niching. Um, and I love that you are connecting the dots between the niching and the people pleasing tendencies to want to help everybody. That is totally why it's hard. And we've got point of view, punished for speaking our minds, business model. Business model is such a struggle to figure out what works because everybody else is saying, here's what worked for me, and their businesses are so different. Hub marketing, sharing, yes. I really love this photo because we've just covered all of the reasons why it's hard to build a business that feels good and works. And then you have this visual of what community can look like. It's a really interesting juxtaposition.
Thanks. And I like good photos on a website because that's a website or a photo from a storytelling event we did here in Duncan. And but it's just like, yeah, people sitting in a yurt is probably going to resonate with my people versus if it's me, in a suit in a corporate boardroom. It's like it just doesn't land. So consider using photos from your workshops, photos of you sitting with a client, photos of you in nature or whatever it is that is going to convey the heart of what you do, that conveys some of the aesthetic, the style, which is also point of view and part of your philosophy. Like the way you dress, the setting you choose for your photos, what's in the background, all of that talks about your point of view and can help underscore and underwrite all the words here on a page like this.
I can't tell you how many sales my homepage photo has brought in because of the chicken sitting on my lap. People tell me it makes them feel safe. If that chicken is just happy sitting in your lap, I feel safe with. So ideally, I would be sitting across from the client being brilliant. But if you don't have a client, get yourself a chicken. Okay, so where my approach to marketing came from, this is the the evolution. This is the montage of your experience thus far, where this came from. This is my favorite part of this page because I didn't expect it. Did not see this coming. And I thought, this is amazing because I like to see somebody acknowledge the lineage of their ideas. It doesn't happen often, but I'm seeing it slightly more. I think you're maybe the second person I've seen do it. And now I've started doing it myself because I love it so much.
I copied that person you saw who did it, but I didn't give them credit. The irony. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, I agree. And that the reason I put the lineage there, it's just something to consider. It's a way you could put it on your bio. It fits there too. But the way it fits into my philosophy is if you tie specifically, here's how these influences show up in my approach. Here's the threads that I got. Whoa, sorry. Here's the threads that I got from them. I don't know how to make that stop, but I wish it would.
I do love that you are not just bullet pointing names. You are saying why these names are there. I'm always pushing my clients to do that. Why is this bullet point here? You have to give me context. And then that makes me curious about them because some of these names I'm very familiar with and some of them I'm not, but I'm going to look them up now. What's likely to happen? Okay, here's the prognosis. If you keep going the way you've been going, what's going to happen? Worst case. And then if you try this other thing, what could happen best case? So this is my favorite part of this section because you are grounding this in your decades of experience. So over the past decades, I've seen what happens when people don't handle the fundamentals. They don't last long, or worse, they do, and their business grinds them down. They say they've had 20 years in business, but they've actually just had the first year 20 times over. They don't make progress. They're just increasingly tired and bitter every year with the same amount of work, but less give a shit. Oh, it's painful because I've seen this happen to good clients.
And this is so important in that prognosis piece where we're saying, here's the worst case, here's what can happen. Our goal is to be realistic about it. We're not trying to, it's not the fear porn of, oh my God, if you don't, you'll be a wretched failure forever. But it's also not the over-promising on the positive side of the prognosis. We're just trying to be real of, here's what I have seen. When people handle this wrong, here are the consequences of it, laying it out because one, they may recognize themselves in that if they have gone down that road. But two, it can be sobering for them of, oh, I was kind of thinking it wouldn't be that bad. Or it may be comforting for them of, oh my God, I thought it would be much worse. But this, relieves them in some way. So we're just trying to be real when we write this.
And then we go to, okay, so what are the things that this, I'm not going to say panic, but it can be panic. It's that desperation. What once they're here, they're so desperate for somebody to give them the answer. They bounce from course to course. They invest a ton of money in tactics, trying to figure out what works, and they're missing the foundation. So the tactics don't have a chance to work because the foundation is not there. I love that you name like two really specific ones, like you need a blog, you need Substack, build a membership. I've heard all of those so many times. You need your own app. Yeah, the specificity is, I think, really lands. High-end programs. Oh my goodness. Yes, so many. I've known so many entrepreneurs who have tried all of those generic templates and strategies. But they always feel like they're wearing an ill-fitted borrowed suit versus a tailored suit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, all of this is me just trying to say, here's how bad it can be if you're not, if you don't have the fundamentals in place, which is going back to the very first premise. Here's why it doesn't work. People don't have the fundamentals in place. And I chose this photo just because this is myself, Betty Cotton Birtles, and Nisanka. We're in Camden Market in London, and we were just having a great time. And it's Nisanka laughing. It's outdoors, colorful. It conveyed some of the vibe I was hoping to convey, so that's why that photo.
That's amazing. Wait, did you like have a photographer just like follow your?
Yeah,
That's so good.
yeah.
I
It's
really want to do that.
hey, if you want to feel like a rock star, just have and I had a videographer too because I was going to use some of that footage. So I had a photographer and a videographer, and everyone just assumed I was incredibly famous and was stopping and wanting to chat. It was the best. I 10 out of 10 recommend.
So then we get to the best case. What can happen when you've got these fundamentals in place? And I think the best case is everything just starts to be so much easier. There's so much less friction to navigate. Oh, this oh, this line is beautiful. When you deepen into the craft of cooking, the aroma of the meal you make wafts into the marketplace and reminds the starving people of their hunger for real food.
Yeah, I
I,
like that.
I would never come up with that line myself because I do not have poetry in my soul, but my soul still responds to poetry when I see it. And there is so much truth in this line.
Mm. It's
Marketing starts to feel good.
it's interesting because you know, in writing these things, you think, oh, I don't want to hype up the positive prognosis. But as I was writing it, it's like, oh, these things are all so true. This is what I've seen. This is what people have told me that they're shocked. God, marketing actually feels good. Um, they know how to articulate what they do. All of these things, you know, this is me just reporting from the front lines. I'm not making anything up. I'm not playing fast and loose. And you don't have to when you write your philosophy page and talk about the prognosis. If you've been in business enough, you've seen what happens when people apply it. Right? There's me teaching a workshop. So that's part of what I do. So, you know, yeah, that's in Wales in Newmarket.
So you not only tell them what the prognosis is for them as individual business owners, you broaden it out.
Yeah,
This is the kicker. If enough of us do this, we begin to restore the beauty of the marketplace in our small, humble little corners of the world, so that the small particularities of our shared lives can feed the grand magnificence we are a part of.
mm,
This is speaking to my big why underneath my business that I never articulate anywhere, but it's the one that drives everything. I want to expand the ripple effect of people who are making people's lives better. That's why I'm doing this.
right. Right. So this is the prescription. And this was interesting. I wasn't actually sure what I was going to put here. It's funny to you and I write this workbook, and I have no idea what I would put in my own version of it. I think we released it to the world before I'd even written it. I'd written my philosophy page. And so I was a little nervous, like, oh, I hope this workbook's good because I'm going to be using it myself. And so when I came to the prescription, I was clear I didn't want it to just be like, well, make space, be ethical, have because those aren't really steps. I wanted to give people something very practical they could do, whether or not they work with me, that would take them, you know, take them further than they are. And so, you know, I think everyone's going to come up with their own version of the prescription, but I just tried to make it as specific as possible. And so this is what I came up with.
And I like how this is speaking to those foundations without copying them. It's like, here's how to actually get these foundations into place. Making it a priority speaks to the space.
Yeah, it's true.
And then you've got like, just understand what these fundamentals are and wrap your mind around them. And here are some ways you can do that.
Yeah.
Get professional support. This is so important. Structure, guidance, feedback. Do not try to do this alone.
No,
This is a really interesting one, having a marketing journal. And I like how you are, this sounds too simple.
right. Yeah, good copywriting move. If you know something sounds too easy, too simple, acknowledge it. It builds trust because otherwise they think you don't get it.
Yes. Develop a regular marketing practice. I like how you're comparing this to the yoga or meditation practice because it is slow, steady work. Find others. Oh, yes. We like it echoes the don't try to do this alone, but this is find your peers
Yeah.
and give yourself a year. That's fantastic advice. So many people are selling, you know, six figures in 6 weeks, and
Yeah.
that's impossible.
Or it's possible if you have the fundamentals in place. I think that's probably the rare student they get who actually achieves that. They actually had most of those fundamentals in place. So they were really primed to do a big move. They had the space in their life. They have a very clear, their ethics are good. The niche is really clear. They already have a compelling point of view. They have an offer that works, but maybe they just haven't put it out robustly enough or in the most strategic way. And uh, and they haven't really thought about hubs and who it could go through. So I think some of those courses could work. Possibly, I don't know them all, but if they had the fundamentals, right? And here I've got a poem. It's something you could consider. You'll see it in the workbook. One of the ingredients is poetry. I mean, there's photos and images, but also poetry. Because sometimes it was it Freud said, he said, wherever I go to in the unconscious, I find that the poets have been there first. Um, poetry can say a lot in very few lines and in a way that has a kind of emotional heft to it that we may not be able to cobble together. So we don't have to be poets, but luckily the world has poets. We can borrow their words for a time. And this
Wow.
is a killer poem. It's such a beautiful poem.
And it really does capture the heart of your work. Like this is the big why that I think underpins.
Yeah, it's totally true. Right. And then here's the pitch.
I
Right?
This is a great phrase. If this all makes sense to you.
Yeah. And you could hear it, by the way, as Lauren was reading. It's like, oh, that's so true. That's so true. That makes sense. In a different kind of way, this is what we're going for. The whole point of this page is that as they're reading it, they should be saying, "This makes sense. Oh my God, that makes so much sense. No wonder I'm struggling." Right. And then here's my pitch: is the right, get the ethical marketing starter kit. That's the next move. So at the end of the My Philosophy page, you've just made a case for an approach. So at this point, if they're leaning in and saying, boy, that approach makes sense, you want to give them something they can do to start working with you to start implementing this point of view you've just extolled.
Oh, this is I didn't notice this the
Uh,
first and second times I read through it. This is really interesting and so cool just to shout out some colleagues who are doing great work.
well, because there's such a thing as too soon to work with me. And too soon is they actually haven't figured out what they want to do with their life. Um, it's like pre-niching even. They're just, I've got all these interests and these skills, and what could I do? And that's not my thing. But these colleagues, it is their thing. This is absolutely their piece is how do you get clear on what you want and what you're, building towards and getting started. So I don't want to work with these people. If it's too soon, I don't want them to be booking a puttering session because I've done it a number of times where I've just after 5 minutes I've stopped the session and say, okay, I'm going to refund your money. This is not a fit, but here's who can help you. Book a session with them; they can help. I've done that a number of times, and I'd rather not have to. So this is one way of kind of giving an off ramp to people.
Yes. I I have a client right now that I'm thinking of offering that to because she's still struggling with the niche question.
Yeah.
So I'm like, have you seen our new workbook?
Eh, Yeah, we'll have to do a video on that. Well, let's go through quickly now some of the other pages. Okay, so we're not going to go as in depth. But so Gabriel Shaw, all right, so my philosophy, all sickness is homesickness, all healing is homecoming. So boom, there's a very clear, right? Healing isn't fixing, it's remembering. So that we get the case that's being made. And what we know is the rest of this page is making a case for this. It's expanding on this, giving evidence for this, right? Right? You're not alone, you're not the problem. Something like that. It's just it's when I was saying, hey, here's why you're struggling with the seven fundamentals, right? Here's why this is so hard doing copywriting. You're not alone. You're not the problem. Those are great messages to convey, right? Here's where the conventional methods fall short. Just naming it directly. There is such a thing as conventional methods. They don't always work. Here's why. And the case is made about that, right? We got a restatement of the original idea, my mission and vision. So that's a great thing you can weave in. You could have a whole page on this, but this is um, very clear what Gabriel's about. And so you get a sense of as you're reading this, hopefully, like, does this make sense? But also, do I resonate with this person's worldview? And you're kind of, as you read it, you're leaning in or you're leaning out, right? If this resonates, I invite you on a journey, right? Feel like we might be a fit, boom, boom, boom. So this is a much shorter version, but it's still making the case briefly for a philosophy.
And he's done an amazing job with the headers, just
Yeah.
picking what needs to be a header so it's very scannable, just from a technical standpoint. It's really nice.
Yeah. I mean, God, when there's no headers, people just, they don't know what to look at. They get so overwhelmed because like I have to start at the beginning and read the whole thing. But sometimes you just want to, right? Oh, great. Here's the next things. Or, um, yeah, I'm curious why the conventional methods fall short. I, yeah, let's take a look at this. Okay. So then we've got, this is Amy Ambrosich, right? So this is a great niche. When couples begin blending their blending journey, they often believe that with enough love, they can overcome any challenge. While that sentiment is lovely, I want you to know that love is the starting line, not the strategy. So boom, what a killer opening. There's the core of the philosophy. So we know this is about blended families. When, two different families with kids come together, and there's the image that conveys it. Here we go. This parent with this parent with this kid, starting to walk together. Great. So here we go. This is you're locating them, right? As the step parent, you feel unsure how to find your space in an already established family unit. Find yourself wondering, when do I step in? When do I step back? What the heck is my role? So very relatable.
But I
Ah,
like how she's speaking to each one of them individually, depending on which one is reading the
ah,
speech first.
totally. As the step parent, as the birth parent. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you can find yourself in this, right? There are things no one told you but should have. Um,
See, from a copywriting standpoint, I would call this hard mode because she's talking to two different groups at the same time, but she's doing it in columns, so it's really effective. She's speaking to one at a time.
yeah, totally. Right. The trouble people get into, they're right. They try to blend this together and it just gets so muddy. But here, aha, if you're in this situation, or if you're here, different. Okay, then some stats. So this is one of the things that I don't think Lauren or I have on our page other than me saying most coaches don't make money, but that's hardly a stat. But here we have some actual statistics. Great. So this is a very compelling way to make a case. If you can find statistics about your industry, about the kind of world that your clients are in, and educate them about their own reality, very compelling credibility building.
And it's also a super shorthand prognosis
Oh,
because
it's
this is terrifying.
right. It's like, this is the usual. If you do the usual thing, there we go. Right. And then what if we just figure it out as we go? So very brief. If you don't, if you try to handle it alone and leave it unaddressed, boom, you're just going to keep repeating the same cycles. But with support, stop spinning your wheels, things get better. And then here's one of those images, right? Little map. So there is a strategy to blending well, and it involves this: our parenting partnership, understanding step family dynamics, and good communication, between the couple, parent, child, and the family. So this is so grand because it's um, you can sort of see where you have it strong and weak. And I could imagine a lot of people saying, "Oh, maybe I think our communication is good, but we've never thought about what this partnership really looks like. We've never talked that through, and I've never even thought about the step family dynamics, or vice versa. It could be, but people start to see and locate themselves here of what do they have, what don't they have, and they start to wonder about it, which is helpful, right? You want a home that feels calm, not chaotic. Love brought you together. Having a strategy will keep you together. Oh man, that's such a killer
That's
line.
good.
That's so good. Very clear. Here's what you need. Right. So yeah, it's the prescription. What do you need? These things. Here's the core idea, which it also again echoes in a different way. Love is the starting line, not the strategy. And so it's a nice book ending. That's very helpful in my philosophy page in copywriting. Tell them what you're going to tell them, tell them what you told them, so that the thread doesn't get lost, which is easy to do. Not sure where to start. Boom, got a starter kit, weekly tips and strategies, booking a discovery call, 3 easy steps.
But that's interesting. I like how she separated the starter kit from the straight up weekly tips and strategies, which I'm guessing is her newsletter. And then there's the discovery call. It's a really clear like first, second, third.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe you don't want to be on my email list. I do it where it's these two are the same, part of the same thing. But yeah, you could separate them out because maybe you're finding, oh, people are not signing up for this because they don't want to be on an email list or vice versa. But of course, once they sign up for this, you could say, hey, join my, and remind them.
Exactly. If
Yeah.
they find value in the starter kit, they're gonna want to continue that relationship.
Yeah. So, I mean, Amy, this is just so beautifully done. A great photo of her. Of course, the photos are there. Formatting wise, I'd love to see these photos be like boom,
Yeah.
the whole square because it's just great. But you can see right here they're starting to walk together, and here, da da da, things are happy. So it underlines what's being said. Okay, evolutionary nutrition philosophy. Women grow more powerful with age. Let's harness that power. So there's the right out of the gates. It's not that women get less powerful, they grow more powerful.
So this is the page when I was going through all of these where I scrolled down to the bottom, I found her on Instagram and I followed her immediately
Huh.
because I'm close enough to her target market that
Interesting.
this spoke to me and I really enjoyed everything she had to say.
There you go. Case study. Yeah, right. So the world says our best years are behind us. I disagree. Midlife unlocks wisdom, resilience, the kind of power the world desperately needs, but tapping into that potential, that's a choice. So there's God, it's just like nonstop point of view and then locating, right? You've already tried the unsustainable stuff. It's been rough. And then, this is great. This is something on my philosophy page that I haven't done. I don't think you did, because I think we have it on other pages, but here's who I am. Let me introduce myself. Um, photo, which is always good. And then little images. I remember when she brought this to one of the calls, I think she had a different image and it just didn't work at all. It was so confusing. And this one made so much sense, right? Am I enough? Right? Deep in a hole, right? And this one, self-knowing, not deep enough. So these are the two challenges. Is if you don't want to be in the place where the social conditioning is so deep and the self-knowing is shallow, is what's being said, right? The high stakes, right? So this is the prognosis business.
Oh, I like that without being too dramatic. I like that line.
Yeah, right. Which is important because that is the intention. We're really not trying to be overly dramatic. We're not going for histrionic as the tone of these pages. We're going for realistic. We're going for sobering because it probably is sobering. Um, yeah, that's runs in the.
So much of her ideology just runs parallel to what I've personally found to be true. And I
Hmm,
was really excited to see it reflected on the page. So sometimes you're not telling anybody anything new, but you are reflecting back what they've already figured out. And then they trust you to lead them the rest of the way.
that's so true. That is so true. You're right. Don't imagine that your my philosophy page has to be all new, brilliant insights no humans ever had. It just sometimes people just need to see it from you and also understand your particular unique personal take on it rather than just what is everybody saying. But yes, right. And then here we go. Here's what's needed because I think there is a better way. Here's the positive prognosis, and then here's what's needed. Look at, I mean, The default operating system we come with is the patriarchy. So even the use of the word patriarchy conveys a certain worldview, conveys a certain understanding of the world, which will polarize. Some people will read that and be like, oh God, she's a fucking left-wing feminist activist, I'm out. And others will say, oh my God, she's a left-wing feminist activist, and lean in. And it's
Have
great.
you find her on Instagram?
Right. There you go. Yeah. So sometimes just words, the choice of words you use, because it's easy to want to tone it down a bit and say, oh, I won't say patriarchy, that's a bit much. I'll just say, you know, operating some the system we come with is the result of years of societal development, and it's just bloodless language. So you can see there's blood in this language, which is great. Um, Choose your adventure, self-compassion first. So we just know this is the most important thing. Aha. And look at this. Now there's another circle. So there's the outer game. So she's building the Venn diagram. And now we see what are the elements. What's needed? That's the whole point of the prescription. What's needed? These three things. Yeah. I love this. Yeah. So you can start to see, where am I strong? Where am I weak in these things? Is it that I know what to do and I'm not doing it and I'm judging myself a lot? Am I really compassionate about myself, but I don't know what to do and I'm not doing anything? Or what combination is it? And people really do get fascinated because it's almost like a quiz or a self-assessment when you look at a map like this. It's like, because if somebody looks at this and says, God, I've got all three and I'm still struggling, then Annika's not for her. But maybe they only have one and they're realizing, oh God, I'm missing these two. And she seems to help with it. And I happen to be here on the page, so maybe I'll reach out, or yeah. And then boom, these three bring you healthy habits. And this is what's really needed. So we know what the center is. And then another map, which is so grand. It's like these are the kind of overall elements, like the threads of the whole path. But what's the path? These five things. And we've got an image that's very clear. When you look at it, it's like, okay, we know we start at the bottom because that person has clearly climbed to the top. And that's how the pyramids or mountains work. You go up, you climb.
My thoughts when I came to exactly this part was this makes so much sense. And then I realized that I was echoing the whole point of my philosophy page workbook.
Oh, right. Totally. Yeah, this is the goal. It's the dream. They read it and they say, "Oh my God, that makes so much sense." That's what we want them to do, is sort of nodding, like, yeah. Um, and I love that it's just one sentence per thing. She's not like giving away the story. She's not trying to over-educate. She's not trying to, um, she's just trying to, these are the ideas at the very basic fundamental level, and you kind of either resonate or you don't. But then, boom, enter integrative genetics. So this is where it gets real fancy. And now we see a much more, yeah, robust map. And again, this is probably going to draw people in or lose people because it's like, oh God, it's too complicated, it's too much. Or other people like, finally, something that has some real nuance. I'm really interested in genetics.
I just caught myself physically leaning into the page.
Did you? Okay, interesting. I would probably lean out on this. I'd be like, oh God, I'm overwhelmed. So it's good to notice it may have different. I'm also not a woman at midlife, so I'm really not the demographic. Um, yeah, which is telling, right? And then
That
boom, here,
shows it's totally working.
yes, exactly. And here we go, right? Now the social conditioning has been filled in. It's not that deep anymore. And the self-knowing is deep. So you know your body genetics, your mind and your soul. Oh, I love that. So you know your body, your mind, your soul, right? Got the genetics, real agency, and you know who you are. So instead of this, we've switched it now to this. And then, right, there's a bigger kind of mission vision here, which is great to weave in. Moon and Molecule. I love that name. I gotta say. I mean, that's a cool, because you got the, even in the name, it's like mysticism, and science. Ancient wisdom, modern science, Mullem. It's just, that's a cool name.
It is.
Um, right, want more support? Book a free 30-minute call. Here's all the contact info. And this is just great work. Um, what I love about my philosophy pages in general is somebody can read through it, and if at the end they're like, "Man, I love this approach. It makes sense." When they call to book the call with you, if you do those things, or they email you, they're writing from that place. Ideally, it's like, "Wow, your approach makes sense." Versus, "Can you explain why I should hire you? Can you convince me? Like, what's your approach?" And then you have to, every time you have to do it. This way, they're showing up already with that in mind, and they've already said yes to it at a fundamental level, yes enough to call you. So it's less convincing needed. All right. Which one is this? Oh,
This
yeah.
is so short and sweet, and just the visuals make it for me.
Right. So this is for people who want to do the Camino, the big pilgrimage trail in Spain, I believe. And right, here's somebody who wants to do the Camino, but where the hell do I start? Right, do not do this. No, must do this. Right. It's just overwhelming. All the plans, great image. This is a great example of, I mean, Ingrid Lil's work around, you draw it out, make a doodle of Island A. What is it like for them? So there they are. God, I want to be on the Santiago, Camino, and that here's all these self-help books, and it's storming outside, and I just want to be in the sun over there, and oh, shit, I'm overwhelmed. Then they prepare. So this is going to be the point of view piece here, is how they prepare. And I did it. Woohoo! There they are. It's beautiful outside, colorful, right? And so that's a great example of using that. And then it's, of course, written out there. And then my suggestion is, right, prepare. So we've got a little one of those old acronyms. And here's how you do it: plan, research, examine, provide, acquire, ready, enlist. And in the yellow, there's I think what's involved in what's needed also as elements, not steps, and probably what's in her program. Right, so there's the outer journey. Nice, right? You're before the Camino, in the Camino, post Camino. Oh, it starts here, I guess. Planning, scoping out. So the thing I would probably change about this is I would put some numbers so we know where we're starting, which is I think here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Otherwise, pretty great. And then I got a starter kit to help you start thinking through the Camino. But yeah, the visuals so helpful. Yeah. Oh, this is Nick Danu. And
I
so
love
she,
how much attitude she packs into this page.
yeah, right there. I mean, there she is. She's the clear aesthetic.
The personality really shines.
Yeah, this is, she didn't use the template that we did. She'd written this, I think years before, but it's very clear who it's for. And yeah, as you say, there's a lot of clear point. You don't have to be young, female, fit, and flexible to practice yoga. You don't need fancy Lululemon pants. In fact, I'd rather you didn't practice yoga. This is not a workout, it's a work in. Boom, boom, boom. There's a bunch of point of view here, right? I believe yoga can change the world. So this is an example of the mission vision. I know you're likely rolling your eyes, but hear me out. So again, a kind of self-awareness in copywriting, very helpful. And then I believe, okay, so in life, there's suffering, physical pain, anxiety, heartbreak, and grief, not to mention the stress of our daily lives, living in a society that praises productivity above all else. We're constantly rushing from one thing to other. So this is locating them a bit, right? This leaves us feeling like this. And I believe most people want to be kind humans. So there's a lot of beliefs about life and society here that people are going to read and say, oh, yeah, that's me or not. This leads to us becoming unkind humans, which is kind of the negative prognosis. I believe yoga is a quiet revolution. Yeah, so there's that mantra of I believe this, I believe this. Positive prognosis here. There she is, rested. Yeah. And you can see here, like tools, here's what's needed. So it's not quite in the same format, but you do get a real clear sense of how Nick sees yoga, why it's important, who it's for, and very clear at the top. She says, I teach yoga for misfits, Gen Xers, and sometimes Y, right, who don't feel at home in mainstream yoga circles, alternative folks who are rebels, underdogs, introverts, geeks, and bookworms. So it's great niching as well. Yeah, here's I help people with back pain and anxiety is my two big things. Yeah, it's great. Um,
It's interesting that even a page that is written without like our prescribed structure, it still has the elements because it's a good page and it's an effective page and it has all of the elements, just
yeah, yeah,
smaller doses.
yeah. And this one, what was this one for? James, you may not fully know who you are, and you probably haven't been shown how to move through your difficult emotions. You're in the right place. Okay, right. So here's the locating. You're struggling with anxiety, depression, chronic stress, and overwhelm. Yeah. On this page, I'm going to make the case. This is what we're talking about. That healing emotional struggle starts with learning to honor and move through your feelings. So that's the core. Everything else that's coming is talking about this. In bold, there it is. This is the core of the work. This is the core case that's being made why this matters. Because, negative prognosis. Here's the worst case. Hmm. Right. What do I do to help you? So we got a bit of, here's another map, right? Really mixed up, not quite as mixed up. Shining star. Here's the 3 stages we got to go through. So again, it's like what I do to help you, but it's also whether or not it's me, you got to go through these. And if you want to get from a lot of blocks to connected with your inner wisdom, you've got to honor and move through your emotions, which is the thing that was said here. Yeah.
Oh, I really like this page.
Yeah.
This is intriguing.
Here's the right, the negative prognosis. Here's the positive prognosis. It's interesting. I feel like this is probably the weakest point in the page.
I was just thinking that, and I think it's because you could copy paste that onto a million coaches' pages and it would be
Wow.
equally true for all of them.
Huh. That's so important. Yeah, it's the yellow pages test. Like, could you take the ad and put another plumber company name and it's the same, it's all true? Because if everything in the ad, if everything in the page is true, so even in this section, it's like, yeah, I feel like I wanted to skip it because it's like, oh yeah, 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 I've seen this before. So what I want to hear is like, what's your belief about this? What's your hot take on this? What on each of these? Just a sentence on like, what do you mean by this? Do you have any unique perspective on this? How do they do this? Something just a little bit more meat on the bone of those things.
And I suspect the magic is in the movement itself because there are so many ways to process emotions, but this is specifically moving through them. And I want to know more about that.
Oh, that's interesting. Right. Yeah. Do we have right? So this is interesting. So this many people spend years in traditional therapy talking through their pain without ever resolving it at its root. But I'm wondering, what does she think the root is? If it's not something you can talk your way through, why? What's been, so I assume it's the body, like you're saying, and it's moving. Um, or yeah, what is the mechanism that's being used to move through these feelings? Do they just sit and feel it? Do they move their body? I'm kind of curious. I'm trying to picture it a little bit.
Yeah. What are the things I hate hearing as advice is sit with the emotion because I'm really bad at it. But if you give me a way to deal with that emotion that does not involve sitting with it, if I can move with it, I'm interested.
That's something I would love to see on this page is you've probably tried this before and maybe struggled with just sitting with your emotions. And here's why. Here's my hot take on why we struggle to sit with our emotions. Here's the constituent parts of that. Here's what you can do. Here are three simple practices that we do a lot, you know. Um, that would help have this make sense. Okay, so here's what I want you to know. Right, so more point of view. It's not a sign of something wrong with you, something to be acknowledged. Um, right, so this is interesting, right? There is another way, one rooted in presence, truth, and emotional freedom. I'm like, great, what is it? So I feel like this whole page is teasing me, but there's a way, but we're not going to tell you what it is. And I think there's more room to get into that, a little bit more grit. But then, hey, you want to take a next step? Boom, here it is. Great. Okay, I think we've got just, oh, that's yours, right? Okay, so we just have this one more here.
And then I've
Oh,
got a question for you that I just got yesterday.
okay.
And
Okay.
she was asking, because she had just written a philosophy page, just written her first draft. And she's like, could I use this as my homepage?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Right?
Yeah, I suppose one could. Um, it depends. It certainly starts off in the same way with the locating them, identifying them. I I don't know, give it a try, see how it works.
It's
But
almost exactly what I told her.
yeah, it's to me though, the purpose of the homepage is just like welcome, you're in the right place. Here's where you can find the stuff. And the homepage is sort of directing them like, well, welcome, you're in the right place. Here's a little bit about who I am. Here's some free stuff. Here's where you go to check it out. I think we sometimes overburden the homepage, so I probably wouldn't. I would probably suggest keeping this as its own separate thing because it has the chance to go a lot more in depth. And I think the homepage is it's kind of in traditional cultures, if somebody showed up from the road, the tradition was you give them water and food and before you ask them any questions about themselves for hours. Like you sit for hours and talk with them about anything except where they came from. You tell, oh, here's news of, the what's happening. Oh, I heard this was happening in that country. Oh, yeah, but that's true. And then after you see that they're settled, after you can see like, huh, they finally actually arrived from the road, then you would say, and who are you? So you don't even know their name necessarily. Who are you? Where have you come from? Where are you going? Then you start to ask the question. So I think the homepage is like, it's the first 3 hours. It's here's the wine, here's some tea, here's some food, just helping them land. And beyond that, I think the other pages, because I mean, you could also say, well, could the About Me page be the homepage? Because the About Me page, if you're telling your story and your story is your client's story, it could function in the same way. But I think the way you do it, Lauren, just it's like here's Island A, here's Island B, here's who I am, here's the free stuff, like this as a basic format, I think works better. But I do think every single page almost on the website should probably have a nod to Island A and B. Like your bio also is talking about your life in the context of their problem. My philosophy page is here's my philosophy about this journey from Island A to B. So you're going to have to restate it. That would be my sense.
Yeah. My one concern was I want the philosophy to have as much space as it needs. And you don't generally get that with the homepage. It's going to be overwhelming if you try to put it all there.
Yeah, overwhelming or too little. It's like I've said, point of view stuff is like an accordion. So you can have like the accordion crunched down as like a single sentence. Here's the pithy, marketing can feel good. It's real tight. And then you can pull it out a little bit. You can get a paragraph, pull it up. You got a My Philosophy page. You pull it out a little more. You got signature workshop, a little bit more, you got a book, so it can go, it's a growing and shrinking thing. And I think the my philosophy page, it's not this, but it's also not that. It's kind of there, and it doesn't benefit when it sounds too simplistic. This is the trouble. If you just say, here's the core message, marketing can feel good. I really believe that. I think that's an important belief to have. You should have that belief. And you're not giving any details. It just sounds like hype. It sounds like I should call it like a platitude. And we don't want things to land as a platitude. Yeah. Okay, last one. Junk the habit, empowered recovery from junk food addiction. I mean, very clear who this is for.
Yes.
Yeah. Why you're hooked and what to do about it. Just let's go cut to the chase. And you're not hooked on junk food because you're powerless. So comes out swinging. This is what's going on. It's not about this. The thing you're thinking it is, it's not about this. Um, and I mean, here's why. You're hooked on these products because you have a normal functioning dopamine system that's being deliberately hijacked by the processed food industry. It may not be easy, very honest. I like that. And it does take time, also honest prognosis, but it is possible to take back control. Thousands have done it. You definitely can too. Why should you even care? Right. Negative prognosis here. How did we get this way? I love this. Here's some history. Here's what's going on. Talking about the uniqueness of junk food addiction, which is so great. Right? Image that backs it up. I mean, this is so good. If I was struggling with this would be just amazing to know. Yeah, society.
Love the analysis of the problem under the problem. Like, here's what the problem that you're aware of, you're eating too much junk food, and here's why it is not all your fault, and here's what's underlying it.
Yeah, so good. And then, right, you choose how you eat. Binge. So here, oh, this is great. This is Island A, the cycle. A lot of people could have something like this on their website because a lot of people, their clients are really stuck in a cycle. So just draw it out. Here's the trouble. Visually, right? And then here's the words. You're not to blame again, right? Real change is fucking hard. Right. And here's the shift. So this is the other thing we want to get into. So you have a slip. And so instead of, right, just binging, okay, you have a little slip, but instead you get curious about it. You're mindful. You make a choice. And a slip is a part of it. You're going to have slips all the time. Doritos are going to get you. Right. How does working with me help? Right. My work is grounded in 3 core principles. So this is the what's needed. But it's like whether it's with me or somebody else. Yeah. And I love that as a prognosis. You've spent decades on this. It's not going to happen overnight. When people acknowledge it's hard, it'll take time. It's not overnight. It makes me trust them so much more. One of my favorite things I read on a poster one time was come and learn the possibilities and the limitations of holistic nutrition. And like, oh, they're admitting there are limitations. I trust you more. So there's similar thing here, right? Book of free. Okay, so button a few times. Aha. Negative prognosis, trying to do it yourself. And also filtering. I mean, this is great. If my
Mm-hmm.
approach isn't the right fit or your finances are too tight, there's free options out there. That just reeks of confidence.
Yes.
Like, hey, I may not be right. There's other places. Want to learn more? Get started. Here's the steps, a number of things. Yeah, I just think she's done such a fantastic job of, as you're saying, the making the case under the case. Here's the cause under the cause, not just your own personal struggles. Like, yeah, you're kind of personally addicted to food. It's like, here's what's happening institutionally. Here's the
She doesn't stop digging until she finds the root. This is
Yeah.
something I'm always on my clients to do. Keep digging because you're not there yet.
And which is goes back to the other page you're looking at where it's like there's the root cause, but the root cause isn't really named. And so we're left kind of, okay, that's true. We should look for root causes. That's an important thing, abstractly, intellectually, but I don't know what it is. And in this case, it's it makes such a case, and this is so de-shaming, which a good My Philosophy page I think should be too. They should feel less shame at the end of it than they do at the beginning, because they're probably showing up for most people. Island A is a shame-filled place. And when they get here at the end, it's like, oh, I see why I'm struggling. It's not all me. You've laid out some of the interpersonal, institutional, intergenerational causes. I see what's happening.
And it's also that ethical and empowering choice because you can use shame to manipulate somebody into faster action. But if you show them the causes, then they're prepared to maybe address those causes, not just on the individual level, but maybe in the future, they're going to try to address them on a societal level. They're going to try to create a larger action. I want to start a revolution on every sales page.
Mm, I love that. Oh, man, add that to your My Philosophy page. That's a great line. Okay, well, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for this. It's such a joy writing that workbook together. It was never going to happen on my own, and we've made something really grand, and it's great to see all these pages up. So, and if you all like what you've seen and you want to create your own page, Lauren and I both sell the workbook on our websites. But if you want help with it, I can't. I mean, you can book a one-on-one puttering and we can talk through it. But if you want somebody to do like a little Loom video review, somebody to help you, Lauren is the one to go talk to. Her website is Truer Words by Lauren,
Yep.
truerwordsbylauren.com. So check that out. I'll put the link below the video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you down the road.